The morning sun streamed through the curtains, casting a warm glow on the modest living room. It had been 13 years since Lisa had moved into this house, a place she had hoped would become a sanctuary for her family. But today, it felt more like a cage. Her hands trembled as she folded the note she had written the previous night, leaving it on the kitchen counter. This was the day she had finally decided to reclaim her life. Lisa glanced at the clock. Jake and Kelly would be leaving soon for Kelly's high school graduation ceremony, an event she had not been invited to. Her heart ached, not because she had been excluded, but because this moment epitomized everything that had gone wrong in her life. For years, she had endured their disdain, believing that her efforts would eventually earn her a place in their hearts. But their words and actions had made it painfully clear. She was nothing more than a servant in her own home. "Where are my shoes?" Kelly's sharp voice echoed down the hallway. Lisa hurried to retrieve the sneakers from the closet, her movements automatic. Kelly snatched them from her hands without so much as a glance. "You're so slow." "What good are you?" she muttered, stomping off. Jake appeared moments later, adjusting his tie, and gave Lisa a cold once-over. "We'll eat out tonight. Don't bother with dinner," he said curtly before walking out the door with Kelly. As the door clicked shut, Lisa felt an unexpected sense of relief. For the first time in years, she was alone. She took a deep breath and began packing her belongings. A single suitcase held everything she needed: a few clothes, her diary, and a framed photo of her parents. Everything else could be left behind. She had no intention of returning. Lisa's mind wandered back to the day she met Jake. He had been charming and attentive, a beacon of warmth in her otherwise mundane life. She had been captivated by his smile, which seemed to light up the room. Even when he revealed that he had a young daughter, Lisa had embraced the idea of becoming a stepmother. She had vowed to love and care for Kelly as her own, but the reality had been far from her expectations. Kelly had been shy at first, hiding behind Jake during their initial meetings. Lisa had seen vulnerability in her eyes and had resolved to provide the stability and affection the young girl needed. But over time, Kelly's behavior shifted. The sweet child who had once held Lisa's hand now sneered and called her old hag. The transition had been gradual, almost imperceptible, until one day it became the norm. Jake's attitude had changed, too. The man who had once promised her a partnership now treated her as an afterthought. He stopped asking about her day, stopped noticing her efforts. Instead, he criticized her cooking, her cleaning, her very existence. "You can't even do the simplest things right," he'd say with a sigh, his words cutting deeper than he could have known. Lisa's thoughts were interrupted by the buzz of her flip phone. It was Jake. She ignored the call, letting it ring until it went silent. She had no intention of answering. Not today. Not ever. Her decision was final. By midday, Lisa was on a train heading to her parents' house. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels against the tracks was oddly soothing, a stark contrast to the chaos she had left behind. Her parents had been wary of her marriage to Jake from the beginning, warning her that it wouldn't end well. But Lisa had been determined to prove them wrong. Now, as she approached their home, she wondered if they would welcome her back or remind her of her failure. Her father opened the door, his expression softening when he saw her tear-streaked face. "Welcome home," he said simply, pulling her into a hug. Lisa broke down, the weight of years of loneliness and rejection finally spilling over. Her father listened patiently as she recounted everything: Kelly's insults, Jake's coldness, and her decision to leave. When she finished, he nodded solemnly. "You did the right thing," he said. "Now, we'll make sure you get what you deserve." Over the next few days, Lisa worked with her father and a lawyer to finalize her plans. The house, built on her father's land and paid for with her earnings, was to be demolished. She wrote a second note to Jake, informing him of the decision and urging him to vacate within a week. She knew it was generous given how they had treated her, but she wanted no loose ends. The following week, Jake and Kelly arrived at her parents' house, looking disheveled and panicked. Lisa met them in the living room, her demeanor calm but resolute. Kelly was the first to speak, her tone accusatory. "What's the meaning of this? You can't just sell the house. Where are we supposed to go?" Lisa's gaze was steady. "The house isn't yours. It was never yours. You have a week to leave." Jake tried to intervene, his voice filled with false bravado. "This is ridiculous. You can't just walk away from your responsibilities. We're family." Lisa's laughter was bitter. "Family? You've never treated me like family. For 12 years, I was nothing but a maid to you, and now you expect me to stay? No, Jake. This ends now." Kelly's bravado faltered, and she resorted to pleading. "Please, Mom, don't do this. We can work things out." Lisa's heart clenched at the word mom, but she remained firm. "It's too late for that. You made your choices, and now I'm making mine." As the days passed, Jake and Kelly's situation grew increasingly desperate. The demolition date loomed, and they had no place to go. Their calls and messages became more frantic, but Lisa ignored them. She focused on rebuilding her life, finding solace in her parents' support and the serene beauty of their countryside home. On the day of the demolition, Lisa watched from a distance as the house was reduced to rubble. It was a bittersweet moment, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in years, she felt free. Lisa's story didn't end with leaving Jake and Kelly. Her father suggested she take on a role in the family's real estate business, a prospect that initially intimidated her. But as days turned into weeks, Lisa found a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. She threw herself into the work, learning everything she could about property management and development. Her father's trust in her capabilities became a source of motivation. One afternoon, while organizing documents in the office, Lisa stumbled upon an old photo album. Inside were pictures of her younger self, smiling and carefree. She barely recognized the woman in the photographs. The contrast between then and now was stark, but instead of despair, she felt a renewed determination to rediscover that version of herself. Her new life wasn't without its challenges. Adjusting to the dynamics of working with her family and dealing with clients was a learning curve. But each obstacle she overcame reinforced her resilience. With each small victory, Lisa's confidence grew. Meanwhile, Jake and Kelly's lives had taken a downward spiral. The private investigator's findings had serious repercussions. Jake's embezzlement led to his dismissal and a tarnished reputation in the business community. Kelly's misconduct at school resulted in legal consequences, forcing her to drop out of college. They moved into a cramped apartment, a far cry from the comfortable home they once occupied. Lisa heard about their struggles through the grapevine, but chose not to dwell on them. Her focus was on building a future for herself. Her evenings were spent with her dog, a loyal companion who brought her immense comfort. Together, they explored the countryside, Lisa finding solace in nature's quiet beauty. Months turned into a year, and Lisa's transformation was remarkable. She had gone from a woman consumed by self-doubt to a confident and independent individual. The scars of her past hadn't disappeared, but they no longer defined her. She was determined to live life on her terms. One day, while attending a community event, Lisa was approached by a woman named Margaret. Margaret had heard about Lisa's story and wanted her help with a local shelter project. Moved by the opportunity to give back, Lisa agreed. Working on the project became a turning point, allowing her to channel her experiences into something meaningful. As the shelter neared completion, Lisa reflected on her journey. The pain and betrayal she had endured had shaped her, but they hadn't broken her. She realized that she had the strength to not only rebuild her own life, but also contribute to the betterment of others. One evening, as she sat on the porch watching the sunset, her father joined her. "You've come a long way, Lisa," he said, pride evident in his voice. Lisa smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you and Mom," she replied. The past was behind her, and the future was full of promise. Lisa had reclaimed her life, proving that even in the face of adversity, one could find strength and purpose. This was her second chance, and she intended to make every moment count.